Welcome. Okay, there we go. Hi, welcome back. There we go. All right, good to have with us today John Mittendorf. We're taking on a subject that's pretty interesting, and actually it's been covered in various ways, but I think one of the major significance in our Christian history in the United States is the monument that we want to talk about today, the National Monument. And if you ever go to Plymouth Rock and you visit all that area, if you're not careful, you will miss one of the most significant parts of the foundation of this country, called the National Monument.
Boy, that's an understatement, Perry. But before we get started, I just came across some interesting information last night. As you know, Tinseltown has Fathom events occasionally, which is a special movie coming to the theater. Mm-hmm. Next week, on the 23rd, they're hosting Is Genesis History? And I watched the trailer last night. It is outstanding. They're going to be covering, was everything created in 6 days? Did we evolve from apes? Were Adam and Eve real? Was there a global flood? What happened to dinosaurs? Was there a Babel? And so on. 1 day showing only on the 23rd. So if people that are listening or watching are interested, they can Google Is Genesis History and watch the trailer and then see how to get tickets for the event.
Who's doing this? Can you
know, I didn't know the name of who's doing it, but the people they have on there are PhDs from Answers in Genesis and Institute for Creation Research. It is outstanding.
Okay, so next Wednesday?
It's the 23rd. I think it's Thursday.
Thursday, 23rd, Thursday at Tinseltown. One showing only. Check it out. It's called what?
It's called Is Genesis History?
Is Genesis History?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it history?
That's pretty provoking.
Yes, it is.
All right. So the National Monument.
Yes. You know, I've enjoyed history for a long time, as you probably have also. And I've been back east at Gettysburg, you know, Boston. You take the Freedom Trail and you walk down the Freedom Trail, and here's a sign hanging out from the building, Paul Revere's house, and you're going, Paul Revere's house? Yeah. And then you walk over this bridge, that's the Boston Tea Party happened. I mean, everything is right there. Salem witchcraft trials. And then you come down, you make a loop back to Boston, and you go by Plymouth Rock, and you look over the fence, and yeah, there's this 10-ton granite boulder, you know, with 1620 stamped on it. Yeah. And you're thinking, is that it? That's it.
That's it.
But not really. And what's fascinating is there is a monument which can be called the original Statue of Liberty, not the one in New York, the one in Plymouth Rock, because it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was, well, it started in 1859 and then 1889, then they opened it up.
Right.
But it is the tallest granite monument in the United States and probably the world, and very few people are aware of it.
Right.
And what's interesting about the monument is it honors the ideals of the Mayflower Pilgrims, but it's also a challenge to future generations to follow the principles on which the Pilgrims founded this country, and yet nobody knows. You say, okay, have you ever heard the National Monument to the Forefathers? And they go, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
Right.
So let's play just a real quick 40-second video that we have that just kind of goes around the monument. You can see it's very, it has a lot of parts to it. But what's interesting, it's much, much more than just a granite monument. It is a monument that has a lot of different parts, and all of the parts come together to form a message on the ideals of the Pilgrims and the ideals this country were founded on.
Right.
It's fascinating. And so as you can see, it is a very complicated monument. And we're going to, after the video, for the people that are listening, we're going to go through it and we're going to talk about it specifically. And because it's very, very complicated, we're probably going to go into next month to finish it off.
Well, I got to say, if you ever go back to Plymouth, you've got to go see this. And you have to go out of your way to find it. It's actually in a neighborhood, kind of, sort of. It sits up on a little hill there, and I walked around it. It was cold when I was there. It was freezing, and I walked around this thing, and I realized, of course, I had a little bit of a history of it before I went to see it, and as I walked around this thing, I thought, whoa, this is one of the great kept secrets of all time.
Great kept secrets of all time, and what's interesting, it's on a hill above Plymouth Rock, and it was originally built back in 1859. There was no houses and there was no trees. Well, now there's houses and trees, so this monument in reality is in a residential section surrounded by trees. And so when you go to Plymouth Rock, yeah, there it is and all the stuff that's around it, but you don't really know that just right up the hill, here's one of the tallest granite monuments in the world that honors the ideals of the Pilgrims and is a challenge for the future generations of this country.
All right, let's get into it.
I thought you'd never ask. Let's bring up figure 1 if we can first. And I want to focus on just some specifics. And the first one that you can see, Perry, let's go back to figure 1.
Yeah.
And I want to show this one on figure 1 just to show that the people that are in the picture are just like ants in front of it. The statue is 81 feet tall, which is really an 8-story high-rise building. Solid granite, solid granite. If I can go to figure 2.
There you go.
Figure 2, which is right there, that's a closer view. You'll notice that you have a statue on top, and then as you come down, the statue on top is 36 feet tall, and then when you come down the pedestal that holds the statue on the top, there's 4 statues around the pedestal, which we're going to talk about, which are fascinating. And then below each statue, there is a bas relief of something that is significant in the Pilgrim's journey. The one that you can see on the screen right now is a picture of the Pilgrims stepping out of the boat onto land, which of course is stepping from their journey from England and then stepping on to land in America. Now if I can go to figure 3, which is the next figure, this one right here, what's fascinating, and we're not going to have time to do this. If I was to cover all of the aspects of this, Perry, we would be here for multiple programs. But you will notice that on the picture that I have, that right below the top figure, there's 3 figures that you can see. Right. The first one that you see in the front is called education. And then there's one to the left, one to the right. But on the seats that they're sitting on, there is a small bas relief in the side of the seat, if you look very, very closely, which is a very small statue underneath each major statue. And what that does is that tends to expand upon the ideals that that statue is exuding to the people that are looking at it. So that's just a quick overview of the statue.
All right, so there are 4, and you want to start with the education, or where do you start?
Well, let's start with the top one, which is faith.
Faith, okay.
Which is a good place to start, and that's going to be figure 4, if we can have that brought up.
That is the top.
That is the very top.
At the top of the statue is a statue, and there it is.
Yeah, there it is right there. And let me just real quick talk about the things that you would look at, but not really think about what it really means. It's a 36-foot centrally positioned, towering, and majestic figure, this faith. Okay, it's the tallest figure on the monument. It's standing with she is standing with 1 foot on Plymouth Rock. She's facing east. She has an open Geneva Bible in her left hand that is well worn, if you look very closely. Her right hand is uplifted with a forefinger pointing towards heaven, and she has a star of wisdom on her forehead.
Wow.
Why? Why all of those aspects on one statue?
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Let's go. All right.
Here we go.
1 foot on a block facing east.
Here we go. Faith signifies the forefathers of America had faith in the God of the Bible, which was the central focus of their liberty. They could not worship God the way they wanted to in England and, of course, Holland also. So they went back to England, got the boat, the Mayflower, came over here. So faith is the God of the Bible, is the central focus of their liberty. And the Pilgrims understood the importance of founding a country on Christian faith, and that is the primary reason why faith is the central and largest figure of the entire monument. God. God. Okay? 1 foot on Plymouth Rock while facing east. What do you think that stands for?
Well, the new land, and then east, of course, that's where the Lord will return from.
And east is where they came from also.
Right.
Their journey. So, the Pilgrim's voyage is a result of following the call of God, trusting God to guide them to a new land where they could freely worship God, and facing east signifies remembering from where they had come. Okay?
There you go.
All right. Now, open and worn Geneva Bible.
Well,
let me explain it to you, because there's several parts to it. That depicts the Bible the Pilgrims brought with them to America, which
Right.
was the Bible that they used while they were in Europe or England.
Right.
Okay. What does open and worn represent?
Well,
It was being
they believed in Scripture. That was their foundation.
right, and it was being used.
Being used.
In other words, it's well worn. It's not a brand new Bible.
Right.
They just got out of the bookstore.
Yeah.
They used it. They read it. They knew what was in it. They understood it.
Right.
All right. Now, Pilgrims believed Scripture applied to every area of life.
Mm-hmm.
So the open and worn Bible represents a significant past and present usage. And you know, this goes on, Perry, all the way around the monument. You think,
Right.
who designed and built this thing, you know? Okay, now, Star of Wisdom on her forehead. What does that signify?
Well, wisdom comes from God.
Exactly right. Wisdom from heaven, imparting biblical wisdom to every aspect of life. Is that cool or what?
Yeah.
Is that cool or what? And then lastly, and not leastly, the statue, Faith, the woman, is pointing towards heaven. That one should be easy.
Well, to the glory of God.
That's right. Giving credence to the power and glory of God. And the Pilgrims believed there's only one way to heaven, and that was through Jesus Christ.
Well, there's a picture of it. I was given a Geneva Bible by Dr. Marshall Foster.
Okay?
And it's the Geneva Bible, which is the one here in the monument, also the ones that the Pilgrims had. And it's interesting to read that scripture and read some of the commentary in that particular Bible and how it was put together. It's not that, you know, I mean, everything's got a little bit of a twist and turn in it, but that was the one that the Pilgrims used. And so,
By the way, the notes are extensive, and they're in color. And in the notes, I've got about 10 or 11 graphics there about that are in close-up detail on what we're talking about this morning.
all right, let me take a break. Let me say to our viewers, you can go to hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com. That's John's email address, and he will send you these notes called the National Monument to the Forefathers. And just go to hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com or email him there at hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com, and he'll send you these notes. All right, we'll come back. We'll take on one of the other figures there at the National Monument.
Okay.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back to Focus Today, and John Mittendorf's with us. We're talking about the National Monument to the Forefathers. If you've never seen this in Plymouth, I got to tell you, it's one of the great treasures and one of the great kept secrets. These notes that we're talking about, and they are in full color, John will send to you. Just email him at hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com, hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com, and John will send you the full color notes back. We're talking about this national monument, and it's, like I said, one of the great kept secrets. So much significance in every square inch of this thing.
And what's amazing, Perry, it's a colossal monument, 81 feet tall. When it was originally designed, it was designed to be 150 feet tall. Then you would have seen it, you know, from everywhere. But when they built it, it turned out to be 81 feet tall, which in reality is an 8-story high-rise building.
Right.
Solid main granite. And some people say it's the largest main granite statue in the world, and yet people have never heard of it.
Right.
But even beyond that, and this is probably the reason why it's unknown, is because it points to Jesus Christ as the foundation of this country and of our lives.
Yep, all aspects of it.
All aspects of it, yeah.
By the way, let me just give you a little tease. Our own Steve Johnson went on a tour with Dr. Marshall Foster, who is one of the great Christian historians of our day. And they did the whole East Coast from, I would say, clear down to Yorktown all the way up through to ended up there at Plymouth Rock and Boston. And that series is coming to the Dove shortly. Yeah,
that's going to be titled America's History Revisited. It's going to be 10 parts. It's going to be a half hour each part, and that'll be sometime this summer. I've seen parts of it. It is outstanding. Steve has really, really done a good job.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's amazing how much history of this country is basically unknown.
Right.
You know, the foundation, the essentials that the country was founded on, the emphasis on God. And you know that when you've been back in Washington, when you walk around all the monuments, what do you see on the outside engraved into marble? God, God, God.
Yeah.
You know, so, okay, let's go to figure number 5 if we can, which is one of the statues which is around the pedestal that holds faith, and there's 4 of them. This one is called morality, which you can see.
Right.
And it's interesting because if you look at it very closely, this is what you're going to see. A woman with vacant eyes. She has a breastplate necklace around her neck. Her right hand holds a scroll of the Revelation. That's the revelation of Jesus Christ. Her left hand holds what?
The Bible.
10 Commandments.
Oh, the 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
You're right.
And then the seat that she's sitting on has a little relief on either side, which is the small little statue, one of a prophet and one of an evangelist. And below morality is a plaque with engravings, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Now, what does all that mean? And by the way, this goes on all the way around the monument.
Right.
And we're only doing 2 levels of the monument. There was faith standing at the top. Then you have these 4 statues around the pedestal below faith, and then below that, then you have other different plaques.
Right.
It's fascinating. Now, what do those mean? Vacant eyes. The woman is looking inward. Each person must look inward and be responsible for their own morality before there can be external morality.
Wow.
Okay? This one's a killer. Breastplate necklace. You're going to have to go back to the Old Testament and for the high priest on this one, okay? Followers of Christ have direct access to God, the ultimate high priest.
Wow.
The high priest in the Old Testament wore the breastplate.
Right.
Thummim and Urim.
Right.
If you look at the picture very, very closely, what do you see hanging around her neck?
Yeah.
The breastplate.
The breastplate.
Okay?
Excellent.
Now see, this is stuff that you look at the statue and you go, okay, well, that's a nice statue. What's next? See?
Yeah.
Okay. Scroll of the Revelation. God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. 10 Commandments. God's direction for life is contained in 10 absolute laws.
Right.
And by now, you've got to be thinking, who put this together? You know, who designed this, and how can you design so much biblical information into one statue, and yet there's 5 of them on the complete monument?
Wow.
Right? Okay. Now, 10 Commandments, God's direction for life is contained in 10 absolute laws. The carved relief prophet, there's 2 little carved reliefs on either side of the seat. All right? One of them is a prophet and one is an evangelist. The prophet means, hears the call of God and follows it. The pilgrims in England heard the call of God and followed it to the new country. The carved relief of the evangelist shows an evangelist taking seed from the Bible and sowing it. Now, what does that mean? Preaching the message of Jesus Christ.
There you go.
All in one little statue on one giant monument.
Wow. Wow.
Awesome? Now, right below morality, there's a plaque. And if I can have figure 6.
Okay.
And figure 6 is a plaque depicting the pilgrims leaving England and landing at Plymouth Rock to start a new life in the country, and there it is right there. And there's 4 of those plaques on the entire monument. We're just doing one today, but on each statue, there's one under each statue. There's one that shows them signing the Mayflower Compact. There's another one sitting down talking to the Indians and so on. It's a complete history of the Pilgrims landing at Plymouth Rock.
Wow.
All in one monument.
Wow. All right, can we squeeze in one more?
Let's squeeze in one more.
Law.
Law, number 7.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I'm getting my, yes, number 7. And this one is a very stern-looking man, and here we go. It's a man with a stern and demanding-looking face, serious-appearing eyes focused in an outward direction. Left hand holds, again, the 10 Commandments. Right hand is extended in mercy. Now, if you look very, very close, and when you get the notes, you'll see that the fingers and his thumb are broken. That was vandals. But the hand is extended in mercy, is what that means. The reliefs on either side of the seat he's sitting on depict their minor characteristics of justice and mercy.
Justice and mercy. Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Now, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Stern and demanding look with serious eyes. It's the serious nature of administering the law with appropriate justice and mercy. Okay? Left hand holds the 10 Commandments. And interesting, when you talk about justice and law, 6 of the commandments are directed towards a civil society. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not covet, do not bear false testimony.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right hand is extended in mercy, administering civil justice while having God's mercy in view.
Right. Right.
The Pilgrims...
So the balance of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You think, well, you would tend to think the Pilgrims were just some disgruntled Puritans from England that just came over here. No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Not the case. The carved relief, these are the little reliefs on either side of the seat that law is sitting in. The carved relief of justice shows a woman holding scales representing equal justice for all under the law, and at her side is a sword that represents God-given authority.
Hmm.
This is all just in one little statue. And then lastly, Perry, on the other side of the seat that law is sitting in is a carved relief of mercy, and it shows a man with both arms at his side and with palms open and lifted up, representing an equitable balance of punishment and fairness.
Wow.
You really can't look and appreciate this statue unless you have somebody like Dr. Marshall Foster to explain all. And by the way, there is a movie out on this, Monumental.
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron.
Right.
Excellent movie, DVD, which you can get, which takes you around this and explains this somewhat similar to what we're doing today.
Well, let me encourage you, first of all, folks, John has done an excellent job in putting all of these notes together. They are in color, and they're very extensive. And we only got through 2 of the pedestals of the monument. There's 2 more to go. You can email John at hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com, and he'll send you the notes on this. This is something you want to read, study, look for yourself. You can look it up, you can Google it, but he's done all that homework for you. But it is one of the great things that have kind of been tucked away, and I say forgotten, maybe purposely ignored.
And unknown. Right. Actually, you know, when you go to Plymouth Rock, the town of Plymouth,
right,
you don't really see any signs on that, or
no, you don't. You'll see the rock next to the bay.
Yeah.
You'll see a replica of the Mayflower docked over there.
Right.
And then you can turn around and go up to the church, and above the church is the graveyard where you'll find William Brannan and others buried there.
Right.
You'll be able to stand right there over their grave, which is an amazing experience. Yeah. But if you don't know where to go from there, you'll miss it, because it is up the road a little ways.
Yeah, William Bradford, he was the first mayor
right.
of the Plymouth colony. So
who did this? Who made this?
It was, well, it was commissioned by the Plymouth Society, which is a society that has to do with history, and it's a combination of British and English. But the Masons were also involved in it also. And the Masons were responsible for setting the cornerstone of it first. But basically, it's the Plymouth Society, and a gentleman, an architect by the name of Billings, who was an architect in Boston at the time and who had done some very famous works, was commissioned to do this. And he did it, and then away they went.
Chiseled it out. So.
Chiseled it out, yeah.
So
and
from 1620 to 1859?
1859 is when he started, and 1889 is when it was commissioned. Okay, so it was 30 years in the building, right.
1859, that's the birth date of Oregon.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the Statue of Liberty was commissioned after 1889. So that's why some people say you can make a very strong case for the fact that this is the original Statue of Liberty, the one in New York Harbor, #2.
Okay, so the 4 that we got to law and morality.
Morality, right.
And there's a couple more in there. No, we did education.
No, we have education
to
go.
Morality, law, education, and liberty.
Right, exactly.
So we got education and liberty. Now these are the 4 cornerstones of our forefathers and what they had based upon the Bible.
Based upon the Bible and their ideals that they founded the Plymouth. By the way, Plymouth was spelled P-L-I-M-O-U-T-H, believe it or not. Not P-L-Y, P-L-I.
Okay.
The Plymouth colony was based on that, and next month when we finish this up, I'm also going to go through the Plymouth Compact and what they sat in the boat and wrote down as the ideals to follow before they started their colony on land.
And then, how about the Mayflower Compact?
What did I say?
You said the Plymouth
Mayflower.
Compact.
I was just checking to see if you were listening.
I am.
Mayflower Compact.
It's the Mayflower Compact. You know what's so interesting is that they wrote that even though some came off the boat and went to shore and checked things out, they left their families on the boat for quite a while.
They left their families on the boat. The Mayflower Compact was signed on the boat, why it's
Right.
called the Mayflower Compact, and one of the plaques on the monument shows them doing that.
Okay.
In marble.
Have you read it? See, there's one you may want. All right, so if you want a copy of these, a beautiful color, they're all done. It's very comprehensive. Go to email John at his email address, hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com, and he'll send you the file back. hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com. Thanks, John.
You bet.
And again, National Monument for the Forefathers.
National Monument to the Forefathers.
Yeah. Get a copy of it. You'll love it.
Exactly right.
All right. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.